made me some tea, guys. I was giving it some time to cool down. Normally, of course, you drink tea out of like a coffee mug, right? Or a tea mug, but I decided to try out these new glasses that I got. I got these new glasses yesterday. I got a set of 4. So I wanted to try them out. And I like, but it is hot. So I'm gonna let it cool down for a little bit. So I thought I'll come to do this video talking about polyandry. It's actually my thoughts on polyandry revisited, because I made my very first video on polyandry years ago, back when I was living in Los Angeles, California. And I was shocked to see like the responses that I got from men who were in disbelief that polyandry was even possible in this day and age, especially here in the United States. Little do they know. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. You guys probably are wondering, why am I at home, right? Because I usually work Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. Peace. And I am at home instead of at my workplace because I decided to take today off. Now, it was not a surprise because I was already kind of pontificating. I was already kind of exploring the idea of maybe taking today off, Monday, and then maybe taking the rest of the week off, just to indulge more in self-care. I don't like sharing my energy in spaces or with people that depreciate it, right? It becomes deprecating. We're not doing that over here. We're not. The challenge is, though, I am dedicated to what I do, my work, and serving people who suffer from severe mental illness, right? That's the population that I work with at the hospital. So it becomes a challenge, like a catch-22, because it's like, okay, I'm there to do my work as a clinical psychologist and provide services to them. But meanwhile, you have to deal with the bureaucracy of people wanting to play upon their own insecurities and using you as their guinea pig. And that doesn't work with me. It just doesn't. Like, no, I don't participate in that, right? We're all mature adults. We're all supposed to be professionals. So if I'm coming to work, I'm coming to work because this is what I want to do. You feel it? Look at me. Thank you. I appreciate it. I wasn't sure if you guys, like, how the lighting was from my end. It looks like it's dark, which I'm okay with that. I actually turned the lights off in my place, and I only have one light lighting my face, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, like, sometimes people get into this power struggle and wanting to go back and forth with a person and wanting to, like, assert, like, their power. They're being, like, overdoing it, right? You're doing too much, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's clear that, okay, you have a supposedly superior position over a person, right, based on your title, but you don't have to overdo it. And for me, that is annoying to me, especially when the person is of an opposite race. That's annoying. I can't operate in that environment. I choose not to, right? So last night, interesting enough, I actually did like this voodoo ritual. It was kind of like casting a spell over the situation, right? So today, I don't know if you guys recognize, but today is 666, all right? It's June 6, 2022. So the 2022 represents a 6, and then it's the 6th month, the 6th day of the 6th month, right, of the year. So I'm just like, perfect timing. That's why I know nothing happens by coincidence or by mistake. I know that everything that is happening in its rightful time. So I feel at peace. I feel at peace from where I am. I'm halfway through working towards my licensure hours. I've already made a decision. At first I was kind of undecided, like, should I even stay continuing to work there? But I'm like, oh, hell no. And I think it's no surprise, because even going in, this was years before, right? Like, I had already made the decision that I'm going to go into private practice. So there you have it. But yeah, I decided to take today off. So I am here with you guys and I'm making this video. I'm so sick of working with doctors. I have to do what I'm sought out to do. Well, I'm not sick of working with doctors. It's not a doctor that is the issue for me. On my team, I'm a psychologist. There's a psychiatrist. There is a social worker. There is a treatment team leader who happens to be a social worker. So for me, that's interesting. It's not that I have an issue with working with doctors. The issue that I have is with working with people such as the treatment team leader who has their own insecurities, right? And they bring it to work and it shows up in the interpersonal dynamics that you have with a person. And it's really immature. Like you're just overstepping your boundaries. You're doing way too much. So I'm not going to go too much into that conversation because I already addressed that in previous videos. But yeah, I've decided to like kind of fall back a little bit and realizing that I'm like approaching the hill, right? Like I'm getting over the hill in terms of my time working there, right? It takes 1 year to get my licensure hours, and we're talking about I'm 6 months in, right? Or close to 7 months in. So yeah, I'm approaching that hill or over the hill, at least on the hill. So, it's for me, it's kind of like countdown, right? It's countdown and it's just me kind of falling back, which is a good thing because I've definitely developed a close relationship with the patients there, with some of the staff there. So I think it is a process of kind of detaching oneself from relationships that, you've nurtured over a period of time. And I don't want to like abruptly just be like, all right, you guys, peace out, I'm done, right? So it's like, I think, it's going to be a place where they are aware and they have time to adapt and adjust to my departing of this particular place where I work. So, but in terms of doctors, no, like I get along with the psychiatrist well. I think for me, I get along with men clearly better than I get along with women. Okay. I am an alpha female. That's just what it is, right? Of course, when it comes to relating to men, I take more of the submissive role depending on the energy. But usually, in like intimate relationships, I take the submissive role because I'm only attracted to alpha men. So it's just kind of a natural dynamic that happens. It is what it is. You say you 30 years? the medical field and people, yes. So what is your plan? Like, I think this is something that needs to be discussed, and you probably already considered it and explored it yourself, in terms of having a plan to exit. Because working for a place for so long, you become complacent, you get comfortable, and so comfortable to the extent where you fear anything outside of that comfort zone, right? So that even a thought of leaving that comfort zone, right, of working in a particular field or a place for so long, the thought of it kind of, it is disturbing to you, right? And it scares you. So for me, I think it's not to say that I don't experience that, but it's very minor in comparison to the hope, the faith that I have for what life could be like outside of that realm, right? So I think I'm just so courageous, right? I'm so fearless, and I've been through so many different changes in my life that change to me is not a foreign thing. It's not scary to me. So that's another thing. I think part of it is just who I am as a person, and a template that my life has carved out for me is that I'm used to evolution. I'm used to constant flow, constant change, establishing new relationships with people and, going to a place and, doing what I need to do in that specific time and place and then moving to a different place. I am so used to that. So to be in a place for so long, when people say they've been working for this state for like 10, 20, 30 years, I'm like, how can you do that? Granted, I've been in the field of mental health since I graduated high school and started college. I became a psych major in my freshman year. I took my first job at a psych hospital, I think it was my junior year. So I've been at this for a long time, right? And we're talking about graduating college at the age of 22. So to put things into perspective, I am 38 years old. So I've been in the field for a significant period of time. However, I have stepped away, right? And in my stepping away, that's when I stepped more into the literary world, right? And just expressing myself more artistically. So I did that, and I founded my nonprofit organization, Ubawa, just kind of refocusing things, right? Putting things into perspective and knowing that, okay, yes, I have an interest and I have a calling to work in mental health, but at the same time, that is just not my entire calling and my sense of purpose, right? There are things outside of that realm that I'm being called to do, and especially more independently. So, yes. I'm glad that you can relate. You have the plan. That's why I'm here. I'm starting my businesses soon. Yes, just step out on faith and know like everything is going to be okay. Like, don't even worry about it, right? Don't even worry. And then, planting yourself in fertile soil, in an environment where it's endless possibilities. There's no way a person can fail, like, for example, in New York City. There's no way. It's so much opportunity here, yo. Yes, things may not go as you anticipate, right? You may have to kind of maneuver in a certain way, but it's so much opportunity to the point where, okay, if one thing doesn't work out, it's always something else. That's just what I like about this. So it does provide a degree of cushion and comfort to know, to be able to take risks and step out. And then especially now, considering that we are kind of like at the tail end of the pandemic. The pandemic did a number in so many different facets of human life, yo. I mean, we can see how it impacted the housing market, real estate. Yeah, real estate was down for a period of time where, they wasn't selling, they wasn't renting, and if they were, they had to drastically reduce their prices of their space, or the property. So that's what we're looking at. It impacted, obviously other industries too, like in the food industry, like everything was impacted by the pandemic. And even when it comes to the job market, there are so many open positions for psychologists. I don't know how it is where you are, or in your field, but it's so many open positions for psychologists. Like, places are fiending for psychologists. So like, I'm in a good space, and I feel like, that's talking about divine timing, right? Man, it's just everything is falling in place. So I am definitely not concerned about a job, so to speak, but that is not the end goal. It's just to know that, okay, I have a steady flow of income readily accessible, right, at my disposal, if need be. You'll be in New Jersey soon. Are you relocating? You wish you knew how I got my hair like this? You haven't seen my video? I've done videos where I've actually washed my hair, and I did like this whole regimen where I styled my hair. So I'm definitely not about to take my bun down now, but it's very simple how I got it like this. Total number, my house is 500,000 now. Yeah, so things are going back up. Demand is going back up almost in every facet of our life, especially like I said with the job market. It's a high demand for psychologists. In the housing market, everything is going back up. So if you are on an end of selling, right, which is a good side to be on, then it's very lucrative. So just keeping your mind open to that, and knowing that everything is okay. But let's get into the topic of this video. So what prompted me to do this video was a dream. No surprise. It's usually a dream that I have, right? And it's funny, I've been thinking about where has Sharonda been? My videos have been kinda deserted. My locks are close to my ass. I wish I could do that. You can. My locks are the same length as yours. Probably, you seen my locks hanging down. So, They are long. It's just a matter of wrapping it around. And actually my hair, I don't know if you can see, but it's plaited. It's plaited, then it's wrapped around a big ass bun. So usually it's dreams that inspire me to talk about various topics, and people are like, where do you get that from? A dream. And for me, the dream world is real, very much so. So last night, oh my gosh, last night was a great night. And I'm in this different realm. You know, the funny thing about dreaming is like you kind of just plopped into this world out of nowhere. Like it usually has no beginning, no end. It's just boom. Like you plop there. And that's what it was. And so I was in, I think, my condo. Very nice space. And there were 3 or 4 men. I can't put my finger on it, but I know there were 3 men that were active. And I think there was like one straggler kind of somewhere, right? Hanging around. But there were 3 men in my presence around me. And I knew that I was in a polyandrous relationship with these men in the dream, right? I had that awareness. The funny thing about like lucid dreaming, you know, for me, a lucid dream can be completely lucid where I have full control and full awareness that I'm dreaming. And, or it could be a situation where it's like part lucid. So this dream was part lucid in a sense that I would say I had 25% awareness that I was dreaming and maybe 20% control over the dream. If that much, maybe not even that much, right? And then the remainder was just it happening the way it played out. But I liked the way it played out. I just felt good in the dream because these men were very attractive, fine men. Now, what happened in the dream was there wasn't really like was there any sexual intercourse? Yeah, it was. It was some sexual intercourse happening. But that wasn't the most salient part of the dream. The most salient part of the dream, I think, was a dynamic that we shared and my openness to them as men being fluid in their sexuality. So it's not that they were engaging in homosexuality, but I tested one of the men in the dream and he was like really buff too. He was really buff and just chocolatey. And so we were sitting in the living room of the condo in my dream. He was naked, and I'm not sure if we had sex or, you know, it's kind of vague, right? Vague memory. But what I do remember is that he was unclothed, and I tested him to see how he would respond. And so I put my finger like in his anus, or in the area of his anus, not like inserted inside, but like in the area of it, right? In vicinity. And like he didn't budge. He enjoyed it, yo. But what I also noticed was that he was open. As if it like he had a lot of prior experience getting fucked in the ass, essentially. So, cause like when my fingers, I have small hands. I don't know if you guys can tell, probably not from the video, but like I have like really tiny fingers, skinny fingers and small hands. They're long, but they're like slim, right? And so the guy, yeah, he was like big buff, right? But even though a person is big buff doesn't mean their ass should be wide open, right? So like the circumference like of his anus was widened. It was open to the extent where like I can probably fit 2 fingers, but I didn't. But I was just kind of like feeling around his anus, and I'm just like, you've done this a lot before with a man. It has to be with a man. Now granted, there are men who claim that they're not gay. They're like, nope, I'm not gay, but I like to be penetrated by my woman with a strap on, with a dildo. I made a whole video on this because someone wanted me to talk about and pose a question: is it considered gay or is it considered homosexual if a man desires his female partner to penetrate him anally with a dildo? And that video has a lot of responses. You guys go back and check that out. Just search on YouTube. I forget what I titled that video. Something about homosexuality, gay, and anus or anal sex, something like that. Or penetration, something like that. I can't even remember the exact words that I use. But that's what the video is about. And looking at the responses, it was kind of like split. So there were people who were saying like, you know, no, that's not gay because it's a woman, right? It's with a woman. Homosexuality is an act that is, you know, exchanged between, you know, same sex, right? So because we're talking about a man and this female partner, that's not considered gay. But then you're having other people saying, oh no, that's for sure gay, right? That's gay tendencies. And that's a red flag for women who are with these men who think that they are dating a heterosexual man, because he is basically communicating that that's what he wants. You know, he wants to be penetrated and by the real thing, but he's afraid to step out, to have the confidence to say that and to act upon that, right? Because we have these socially restrictive standards in our society that say, oh, a man should be this way, a woman should be that way. So I'm like, interesting. But we know, for those who are familiar with sexuality and sex and erogenous zones and orgasms, we know that men, like, yo, that's a hot spot, the ass. Personally, I never got an orgasm from that, and I think it's very painful to be penetrated in the ass. Tried it, that shit didn't work. Like, but I've heard that, you know, it's a good place to have an orgasm. That for some, it's the best way to have an orgasm, to be penetrated anally to the point of ejaculation. And I'm like, interesting. Now, I know that it's a very sensitive area, so that people who engage in anal activities, right? Even oral anal activities, like, it's very, that part of your anatomy is very sensitive. And so there's a lot of nerve endings back there, and you become very hyper aroused, you know, when that space is touched. And so when in the dream I was tickling, kind of fondling that area on my partner in the dream, he didn't budge, which lets me know that his sensitivity in that area obviously is less, right? It's decreased, is more, become more desensitized, because he has a lot of experience in that, right? Interesting. You say, oh my goodness, I don't like, I've dealt with this once. Looking back, I don't like. You don't like? I think a lot of women, they are turned off by it. For me, I have a different perspective because I'm sexually fluid, in the sense that I'm open to different activities, right? Not that I'm open to having sex and I'm attracted to women per se, because I haven't really found gratification in having sex with a woman. That's just not something that gratifies me. But I'm open to different activities, and I understand, like, when you come to an understanding of how sexuality works, right? And then in the end of the day, we're just spirited people, right? And they like to say two-spirited people for people who go both ways, or who are attracted to different genders, you know, two genders, or who embody, let's say, more than one gender, right? You embrace different aspects of both gender. And I can relate to that myself. I would say, you know, if I had to put a label on it, which I really don't like labels, but if I had to put a label on it, I would say that I'm more androgynous. Like, it's not that, oh, I be feminine or I'm masculine. And when I look back over my life, I've had, it's like a dance, right? I've had a dance when it comes to my gender expression. Like, I remember my earliest age growing up, I was in grade school, like elementary school, and my mom would force me to wear dresses and force me to wear barrettes in my hair, and I was definitely opposed to it. I was very resistant to that because I felt like she was trying to force me to express a certain gender identity that I couldn't identify with that, right? I actually like climbing trees and just doing things that the boys did, playing football, tackle football, and basketball, right? One may say, oh, there was aggressive kind of activities in sports, but I didn't look at it that way. I just like to be adventurous. That's the kind of person I am, and I was growing up. Fearless, courageous, and so our society has, obviously put labels on gender norms, on certain behaviors to say, oh, that's behaviors that are typically seen in boys or men, and those are behaviors typically seen in girls or women or whatever. And so, it becomes like this gender norm, right? And it becomes very restrictive, so that anyone displays behaviors outside of that, then they're atypical, right? And something is wrong with them. So I remember that's my earliest memory, being forced to wear barrettes. I hated that shit. She would put them in my hair and I would take them out, right? Forcing me to wear dresses, and I looked very awkward wearing dresses growing up. Telling me how I should sit. And so this was like way back then, right? Grade school. But it kind of evolved into, as I grew older, just how I expressed my gender. It was just different. I went through a phase in college. I was like a freshman, I think freshman, sophomore in college. And it was weird, weird according to how society, perceives it. But for me, it was just, I was very comfortable. So I guess I dressed like a tomboy. I wore polo shirts, with the collar and the buttons, and I wore, baseball caps, and, just like boyish kind of style dress. I didn't wear dresses. I hardly ever wore makeup. This is not my thing. And in terms of earrings, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I do not wear earrings. You have never saw me wear earrings in any of my videos or my pictures. Maybe you have noticed that, maybe you haven't, but I don't wear earrings. I think that's more attributed to my dad because he was opposed to me getting my ears pierced. I didn't get my ears pierced until I think was like a teenager. And then when I turned 18, I went all the way completely the fuck out with it. I went berserk with it. It's like, I got my tongue pierced like 3 times. I got both of my eyebrows pierced, like one side 3 times, another side 2 times. And I got holes up and down my earlobe, and I got my navel pierced. I just went crazy with it. But yeah, I don't wear earrings. I feel very comfortable not wearing earrings or makeup, right? I feel like that's gunk on my face. I don't want anything on my face. Take that shit off. I have tried it though. It's not that I haven't experimented with it. I definitely have. And I find it to be just, it feels dirty on my face. So yeah, that's a prime example in terms of, this, I guess, struggle that I've had with my gender expression. So how that ties into this whole idea of gender fluidity, I think it does, because yeah, like I can relate to that. Right, and there are many different expressions of that. So when I come across men who present a certain way that society deems as abnormal, like, I don't judge them, because I understand it. People have different ways of expressing themselves, right? However it plays out. And I think societies, like socialization, plays a role in that, because some behaviors are definitely more reinforced than others, especially the time we live in now, right? It becomes like the popular thing to do to be gay and to be gender atypical. So where was I going with this? So when it comes to the idea of polyandry, this is not something that is new to me. It's something I've thought very deeply about. And I know that it is definitely possible and likely for me to engage in it. Have I done it? I made a video on this. So you guys gotta go back and watch my answer to whether or not I have participated in a polyandrous relationship or dynamic, where I was dating multiple men at the same time. When I mean dating, I'm not just saying like, okay, I go on a date with one guy one day and I go on a date with it. No, not that. I'm talking about we are cohabiting. We're living together. We're sharing the same space. We are a unit, right? And I think when people think of like polygamy, they think of these like this openness of dating and relationships where you have like this common denominator, whether it be a man or a woman, and then they're dating this person and they're dating that person in these isolated relationships, right? Separate, apart from each other. I don't look at polygamy or polyandry more specifically in that way. I look at polyandry as we are all one unit, right? We are all dating each other or married to each other. And that's how it was expressed in my dream last night. I was just like, it felt so good. We were just chilling. They were with the shits, right? These men were definitely down for the cause. They were with me, right? Like we had already established this solid foundation with each other because we were just kicking back, relaxing. This one guy felt free and he was unclothed. Like I said, I can't remember if we had sex. I don't remember. I would have remembered that if we had sex in the dream. I definitely do not remember us having intercourse. I just remember that part that I described with the fondling. So going forward, I mean, funny enough, were people who are in disbelief that this is even an actuality, like a possibility. I have expressed this to men, right? I'm on a dating site and I've had this conversation with men. And these men are with it. Now, there are men who have questions, right? And the questions that usually come up is like living arrangements, right? Like how is this going to manifest itself if we're living all together under one roof, right? And then another question, because they're so curious. Another question is, all right, so will men be given certain days? Like, will I have Monday with you and then another guy have Tuesday with you? They're thinking like sexually. I just find that very interesting when people think of these poly relationships. They just think of sex, yo. Like their mind goes directly to sex, and that to me is kind of annoying. But it kind of also sparks a degree of curiosity in me too, because it's like you're thinking of sex, and that is not what I'm thinking of. But yes, sex is definitely a big part of it, because we're talking about intimacy, right? They're concerned about how are they going to get their sexual needs met if I am being shared. But I don't look at it as not sharing. We're sharing each other, right? And then there's more to the dynamic than sex. So there are more things that will be happening between all of us than just us having sex. We are a unit. We are a family. We are a team. We are a tribe. That's how it'll go down. And so I am glad that that dream resurfaced last night in my conscious, because now that means it says something, right? I think in terms of the direction that I'll be taking going forward. Like when I dream, I don't dream just to be dreaming, yo. It serves a purpose, and I definitely can see how in my future how it is going to play out, where it's going to be that way. And oftentimes, another question that's brought up when I'm discussing this with potential male partners, they're like, oh, well, can other women join? Right? They're thinking like some orgy shit. That to me is a turn off. Why is it a turn off? Okay, I'm going to break it down for you guys. It's a turn off because I have lived and seen, I'm not going to say it all, but damn near, right? I've done it all. So these ideas, these fantasies that a lot of people have or are playing out like in their 30s, yo, I did this in my teens. I lived a very fast life. So this shit is old to me. It's not exciting. Oh, an orgy or, oh my gosh. Like that to me, I've been there, done that, right? I'm looking for a more evolved relationship dynamic. deeper than just, oh, having sex. And so when we can get to that point, then we can really have a conversation, a more productive conversation going forward. But that's what comes to mind. And you're thinking like, ooh. But yes, now what I have not done that I do want to experience, so I know it's gonna go down, is having, yes, that experience, sexual experience with more than one man at the same time. I have not experienced that, and I think that definitely would be ecstasy. I would feel like I own the world, right? Having such experience. And when I say like at the same time, I'm not saying like being penetrated at the same time. I'm saying being sexually satisfied, right? And we know that sexual satisfaction can come in different forms, not just through penetration, right? It can come through stimulation. Just the mere fact of getting attention from more than one person at the same time, that can be sexually arousing. So I definitely can see that playing out. But definitely not just with anybody though, right? Like, yeah, sex is sacred, and I don't think people get it. And so I know that in watching this video, people may get all perked up and excited and aroused, and you're like, oh my gosh. I see that Matthew Syces is watching very silently and discreetly. Just put you on the spot though. I like to do that because, yeah, I find it weird when people pop in and they don't say anything. I guess they're just like gauging the temperature. But feel free to engage and express yourself and share your thoughts. But yeah, not just anybody. It just can't be just some random person, right? And I've said this before, that I think women should make sure that men measure up. When I say that, I mean make sure that there is a guarantee that you're going to be sexually satisfied. When I say measure up, I do mean literally. Make sure that you're going to be sexually satisfied, because nobody want to waste their time, right? We too old and too mature to be sitting here around here playing games, allowing yourself to be exposed to people in situations that they're just playing around, right? You gotta put them through a test, right? Put them through an interview. And if they can't pass that, then hell no, it ain't going down. Now, of course, this may feel very alarming. This may feel like very triggering and scary to a lot of men who are asked to go through this test, right? Or go through these hoops just to engage in intercourse. But I think it's necessary. Like, when I say this specifically, I mean, pull it out. I need to see what you're working with. Because if you ain't working with something that's reasonable, and I know this may seem facetious and silly, but it's not. You got men that walk around here with big dick energy. And I'm not saying you got to be fucking anaconda. No, you do not. I think people misinterpret that when a woman says that they need something of a decent size. A decent is just average to me, right? Average size. Average, I mean, a man can be a good 5 inches and have a decent girth, and that's good, right? You got men out here that's walking around with big dick energy, and we talking about pencil dicks, yo. You talking about some disappointing shit. It's not to say that a woman cannot be sexually satisfied in that way, but she may just still be craving more. And not in a good way, right? When I say, yo, I'm literally mean pencil dick. Pull out a pencil. Pencil ass dick, yo. And the only way that's going to work is if a woman is a virgin or she haven't had sex in a very, 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 very long time. So when he penetrates, she's going to feel that penetration going in, right? But it's not, and then there's not much you can do. So that's one, size. Another thing is you having the strength to last, right? You can't be no quickie, letting off too quick. My screen is semi messed up, So there will, because we've been Facebook friends a while, I remember you speaking on some multiple partner fantasy or something like that. So I must ask, am I a nympho? Now, I have an idea of what a nympho is, but I want to make sure we're understanding the terminology correctly. What is your definition of a nympho? Because I have an idea, but I want to make sure what I'm thinking and what you're thinking, we're on the same page so we can have a productive discourse. What is your definition of a nympho? So that whole thing about this pencil dick, that's disappointing. And being able to last, right? Having the sexual endurance to thoroughly satisfy. There are men who come in a matter of seconds, literally 30 seconds, and then they're just done. Like, okay, they're done. Like, what the fuck is this? I feel like you do not deserve to be in a woman's presence playing around with no pencil ass dick and no quickie dick. It don't work that way. It's not gonna go down like that. Definitely got to be put through the test, the ringer, to make sure that you measure up. Feel free to share your thoughts on that. And I think also that process of putting a guy through the test, it's about the process. It's not so much about the outcome, right? Saying, okay, do they got a decent sized dick, or, can they last long in bed? It's more about the process of their reaction to doing it in the first place. So you saying your definition of a nympho is that when a person needs sex to function properly? Absolutely no. No. What made you think that? Because I'm talking about sex and I talk openly and freely about sex? I think it's poor thinking, or irrational thinking, shall I say, if your thought process is that just because a person is able to talk openly and freely about sex and assert what they want from a sexual partner or partners, that makes them a nympho. But maybe, maybe you've been around nymphos, or maybe you're a nympho yourself, right? So you hear me talk about sex and then maybe that's the first thing that comes to mind. But if I needed sex to function properly, I would be fucked up because I haven't had sex since January 2021. And I think I've been functioning properly pretty well. But I do think that in a general sense, for human beings, I think that, yes, sex is a need, right? Like sexual needs. That's what the term comes from. We all have needs, right? So I think for human beings, yes, it's important that we get our sexual needs satisfied. Now, that may manifest itself in different ways depending on a person's age, depending on their ability or disability in life. You got men that just get their sexual needs met just by like having a foot fetish, right? They get off on that just looking at women's feet, and they're able to be sexually satisfied in that way, right? Even to the point of an orgasm. So it really depends on the purpose. But yes, I think we're all sexual beings. So there's no point in trying to stigmatize the act of having an open conversation about sex. What draws you to this video? I'm more curious about yourself. What is your interest in this topic? Come on, man. You put me on the spot to speak, so don't diss me for asking. I'm not dissing you for asking. I'm having a conversation. This is where maturity comes in, right? So if you're going to get on a person's live and you're going to open your mouth and speak, then be prepared for challenging questions, because I am that person that will challenge you. And just because you feel challenged, don't look at it like I am your enemy. People get triggered and then all of a sudden their mind go into fight or flight mode, right? Their amygdala gets activated and then they're just shutting down, or they run away, or they become like, disrespectful and offensive, right? Or assaultive, verbally assaultive to the broadcaster. Let's not go there, right? I think that as mature men and women, we can sit down, be able to regulate our emotions, and have a productive conversation. So, continuing what you said, don't diss me for asking what you came off to me as. I asked because I didn't come off to you as that. How can a person, so that's why I'm trying to gain clarity, because if I'm talking openly about sexual activities, how am I coming off as a nympho, right? Now, if you have evidence of me fucking every single day and I'm feeling like I can't function properly without having sex, like I'm a fiend, like I need to have sex in that way, so to speak, a lot of sex, shall we emphasize. If you have evidence of that, then okay. Your words can be justified. But if you're just arbitrarily throwing out labels and assumptions on a person, yes, I have to admit that is you being irresponsible and irrational. I ask because I've heard you speak on desiring sex with multiple partners for yours off and on. Again, pardon. You have a lot of typos, Joe. I'm struggling trying to make out what you're saying. Poor thinking because I asked a question. It's not because you asked a question. It's what the question that you ask, right, is your line of thinking. So let's be clear. It's not that you ask a question. There are many people who get in my lives and ask a question. I don't say that they have poor thinking for asking a question. So let's not play the manipulation games. The poor thinking is in your thought process or your rationale behind your question. A person having an interest in having more than one partner at the same time does not make them a nympho. But I think that your curiosity is what led you to ask the question, because maybe you want clarification to see, is this person a nympho because she wants multiple partners, right? So now we're getting more closer to having a productive conversation, because you in your mind believe or think that a person who has multiple sexual partners, especially at the same damn time, then they are a nympho, right? That's your logic. That's your rationale, right? Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. And I haven't had multiple sexual partners at the same time, unfortunately. But it's a fantasy. And that fantasy, like I said, that urge to have more than one male sexual partner simultaneously, like I said, and how I envision it, right, is not that I'm going to be being penetrated by more than one. I think it's just the attention, right? Just having eyes, right? That doesn't make me a nympho. All these words, to me, I don't resonate with labels like that, especially labels that are casting judgment, right? Or have negative connotations attached to them. Like, I don't resonate with that, right? So you have to recognize that if you're coming into a space, which you were drawn to this video, I didn't ask you to click on and watch. You were drawn, so you were drawn for a specific reason. And in doing so, again, I see that you're avoiding my question to you. What drew you to watching this video? Don't say because, you saw that I was talking about polyandry. But what drew you to that, though? What is your interest in a black woman as myself talking about polyandry? What is your interest? Don't go silent on me now. You gotta know I do this for a living, okay? I do this shit for a living. And I do it pretty well. I'm waiting. Alright, going back to the topic. So, yes, I think that is definitely sexually arousing, right? And even more so, this setup of being in bondage, right? That's a whole nother layer to it, like being put in bondage, tied up. Can you imagine that, right? Does that mean that a person, just because they like to be tied up, that, oh, they're crazy or whatever things that come to mind? No. No. It just means that different things excite them, different things turn them on. And I think it's worth for people, I encourage people all the time, tap into what turns you on. Explore that. It's not going to help you. And see, a person leaves, right? Oh, okay, he's going to come back and say 1 sec. But I'm having this discourse publicly because it's not so much about me. I'm just a catalyst, right? It's really about you guys coming to a better understanding of yourself, who you are as a person, right? Like, you can live vicariously through me and through my fantasies as I expose them here publicly, unashamedly. But what does that do for you, though? It's even better if you could be able to voice what it is that turns you on, to dig deeper, to even explore. A lot of y'all don't even know what the fuck tickles your fancy, right? You know you like sex or intercourse, but maybe you don't know how in different ways that intercourse can manifest itself, right? It doesn't always have to be through penetration that you're turned on by. Okay? So I think that's even better. And I pride people who are courageous enough to explore those things that do arouse them sexually. But he says, hold on, yo. I'm not holding on for anyone. Okay? If I'm here when you come back, I'm here. But I think I'm going to be wrapping up this video because I've expressed what I needed to express. You was like borderline getting ready to be blocked because this page is where I come and feel comfortable expressing myself. So anybody who comes on here trying to dictate and tell me what to do, especially if you don't own me, you don't pay no bills over here, that's going to be problematic. That's a big problem. That's happened before. Yeah, you got people, they just want to try to control. And I was just kind of talking about that earlier today as it relates to my place where I work and the reason why I'm not at work today, because I don't have time to engage with certain energies. But on that note, I also have another thing to share in this video about how you guys saw my video I made on this new book that I'm going to be releasing. It's a new guidebook on cuckolding, cuckold guidebook, which you guys asked for, right? A lot of you guys requested this because you shared with me your experiences in the act of cuckolding, right, with your partner. And a lot of you guys said that, you have some regrets, some things that you wish didn't happen the way it happened, but it happened, right? And you were wanting me, as a person who is articulate and appears to be knowledgeable on the subject matter, to share my perspective on it, which I did, and also to offer some consolation to you guys and empathy and support. And I did that, and you guys, felt that connection with me. And so you asked for me to, create a book, a guidebook, kind of a self-help, do's and don'ts book on this, navigating this lifestyle, right? And some safety tips that, are helpful for people who are looking to enter into the lifestyle or want to, introduce this activity or, certain dynamic to their partner. Now, I'm open for that. I like conversations like that, right? And so with that, I've gotten a number of responses back because I had it where you guys who want to have a free advanced copy of the book, you can request that via my website. So I see you guys have been sending some responses, and on that form I have a box asking for you guys to include some suggestions, right, or ideas for topics you want me to discuss in the book. I stated that specifically in the video, right? If you have, let's say, a scenario that you're going through, a fantasy that you want to live out, feel free to share that in a comment box, right? And so many of you guys understood the assignment, but there's always some jackass who feels that I asked for his opinion on something that I did not even ask for, right? So this person goes, oh, I just hope that you cover the topic in depth, right? In detail, with care, and not rush it. He was like, if you take your time with it, you can make money from it. I'm like, this person clearly doesn't know me. Because if he watched my videos, you'll see that I'm very detailed and very calculated when it comes to my approach in addressing these topics and scenarios in detail, right? So he must have missed the memo. He didn't see that, right? So for him to add that suggestion, I felt it was clearly unnecessary, because if you watch my videos, you'll see that I do that already, right? Without you telling me that I should do that. And then, by the way, this is my motherfucking book, right? So how I write it, that's how I write. If I want to be brief with it, and emphasize the brevity of the topic, then that's my choice. And so the part about, oh, I could make money for it, I can actually charge for the book, I think he completely missed it, because it wasn't about me saying that the book is going to be free ongoing. I mean, I am an author, I'm a writer, okay? I do this. I own a nonprofit literary organization. I've been at this for a while. I don't need you, some fucking Tom Joe, to tell me what to price my book for, and that is going to sell, how to market, and how to. I don't need that, right? That's what I do. That's my area. That's my expertise, right? What I asked for, like I said, is that you guys who have scenarios or topic suggestions, and you can use that comment box for that. And then you recommend some website. I'll go check. I'm not checking that bullshit out. That's one thing about, I don't have to check out anyone's website. My approach and the way I explain things, it comes purely from my own knowledge and my own experience, which I prefer it to be that way, right? Like, I don't need to go and read someone else's perspective. That's their perspective. So when you guys see my perspective, understand that's coming purely from my perspective. If I reference, let's say, a scholar or a researcher or someone else in the community, you'll see that I'll do that, right? I'll reference that and I'll cite that person. But apart from that, no. What you guys are going to get is purely my perspective. Are you still on that? I feel like your last comment, I didn't even finish reading last comment because I feel like it's not relevant. If you're going to get on here and have a productive conversation, then you can have that. Now, if you're looking for attention, well, it seems like you're lacking attention. So you're wanting attention from this discourse. You're not looking to build upon the conversation. You're looking for attention. I got it, which, whatever. I don't have time to entertain that. If you want to talk about the topic, then we can talk about the topic maturely. But I just feel like your comment is not moving the conversation forward. It's actually a distraction. And I clearly don't like that. So I give people warnings, right? And then it gets to a point where they just want to get into this power struggle. Just go ahead and delete them and block them. On that note, I'm about to get some breakfast. I have not eaten yet. So I will catch you guys in the next one. But yes, going back to that guidebook. So yes, you guys feel free to share your comments using the form on my website. I think the link is danielleleach.com/cuckold guidebook, right? It's very simple, but there's a hyphen between cuckold and guidebook, right? But you guys also can find the link on the video that I made on my YouTube channel. It's a recent video. So feel free to share that. But, yo, you're still going. Just bye. Let it go. Your opinion is clearly not welcome here, so let it go. If it was, then you will see that it's value, but it's not. So you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, you're just wasting your words typing. So it's not relevant. And with that, I'll go ahead and do you a favor and block. There you go. Simple, right? Just as simple as that. Now you won't be able to comment. I think sometimes it's hard for you guys to understand how to interact and relate to a person, such as myself, right? I don't consider myself difficult, but I think what people are accustomed to is what they're accustomed to, right? So maybe they're accustomed to certain women, you know, and then being able to be disrespectful. That's definitely clearly not happening over here in this space. So yeah, it rubs them the wrong way when they see they can't do that to you, right? That they've done to other people. It just ain't gonna go down like that. Okay. So you can move on, you can try again, but it's simple. Don't make something simple complicated, right? You come onto my live, you're saying that I'm in your timeline, but I'm in your timeline because you follow me. I don't follow you. Let's be clear. You're following me, so I'm in your timeline. This is a fan page, okay? As a fan page, I'm not following anyone, right? This is a fan page. You're following me, so I'm in your timeline because you followed me. I need a person, a man especially, yo. You don't even deserve to be called a man, let alone have balls between your legs, because you're not acting as such. You're talking about I'm acting stupid. No, you're acting stupid because you're not acting like a man. You're a man. You own while you're here. Don't try to say, oh, I'm here because you're in my timeline. And then I clicked on the video because blah, blah, blah. Like, it's bullshit. You're here because you're interested just as much as anyone else is here because they're interested in the topic, right? Or you're just being nosy. If you're here because you just want to be nosy, then just say that. Just say that. But don't we come on here. Like, you have to understand, when you throw out certain energy, you're going to get what you throw out back, right? So you come in here being judgmental, right? Or making assumptions, then you're going to get that back. But if you come in here with a degree of curiosity and respect, you're going to get that back. That's just how it works. But I am definitely, yes. How is that going to play out? I think it's very complicated. I'm going to say this in the video for real. In terms of this idea of polyandry. How is that going to play out? I think it's very nuanced. It's complicated in a sense that, yo, of course, you got to weed people out because you got people who want to or are drawn to it for their own specific reasons. So you got to make sure that their reasons, their attraction to this dynamic aligns with yours, right? Because if not, then that's not gonna look good, right? They just looking to fuck and they blah blah blah, right? Nothing wrong with fucking, but that's all what you're looking to do. Then that's boring. So you guys saw like other videos I made where I just talk about the intricacies of like BDSM and the dynamic between a dom and a sub, and how a person can stimulate another individual without even touching them. That's deeper than just fucking, right? Meeting a person, okay, fucking. You can't do that if you don't know the person, right? So it does require a degree of intimacy, knowing a person, right? And what turns them on and building that connection first. And of course, that takes time. And we live in this microwave society where people just trying to get a quickie off, right? And they're just trying to be one and done or move so quickly. And yeah, that can have its benefits and be exciting too, but that's not the idea that I have in mind. And so I think that's where we run into problems, because you guys may have a certain perception in your mind And you see how I approach that, where I give people the benefit of the doubt, right? So before I cast judgment or assume, I like to ask questions to clarify, to see, okay, what is your definition, right, of this before you go make an assumption? Because clearly this person started off making an assumption about me, an activity that I haven't even done yet, right? But already quick to try to label me a nympho or have this negative connotation, which I don't give a damn about what people think about me, right? You call me what you want. But I think if we're going to have productive, effective communication, then let's do it, all right? And so, yeah, they come with their own preconceived notions without coming to an understanding of just you as an individual person first, right? So we can come to an understanding as of a person themselves first without making assumptions or casting judgment with negative connotations, then I think, yes, it allows for more productive communication. So I think that also ties into like this, idea and plan for me to open a safe space, a community, like in person, right? We have that here, like on my platform, clearly when I go live on Facebook and on YouTube, and we're able to have these conversations. But I think it's even better, like in person. The energy is much different, and we can just do this shit in person. I've imagined this, many years ago. Like I say, I was like a young girl, a teenager, just imagining just being the holder of such a space where we can have conversations, we can relate to each other, we can express ourselves, we can be, and of course, melanated people. Now I know, of course, my video, especially with cuckolding, has attracted non-melanated people, and I'm not saying that it's completely closed off to them, right? Because I know that they've already had buy-in into this community, right? In-person community, which will most likely be here in New York City where I live. And they've given me some suggestions in terms of locations and what to include in this space. But the pro-black part of me, the Pan-African part of me, really, I don't really want them there, right? I just look at them as an outsider in that space. But I think there is a time and space for them to be there, right? But in I would say like the main course of things, I want it to be a melanated space. I do. And definitely when it comes to my interpersonal, like my intimacy with a man, I want it to be melanin. I want, black man. No white man up in there. High vibrating black man too. So you guys gotta know, like, if you rub me the wrong way, or like there's friction between us, oftentimes it's not so much like the exchange on the surface of what's happening, right? It's more so, hello, Mustang. It's more so the energy. I'm an energy reader, yo. It's about energy for me. So if the energy is right, then I resonate with good energy. If it's not, then I'm going to throw you back the energy you're throwing at me. All right? So if you came to me in negative energy and felt that you're going to be able to transmute and transfer that negative energy onto me, what's going to happen, you're going to be really disappointed at the end of that exchange, because not only am I going to throw your negative energy back at you, but it's going to be multiplied, right? I'm going to take that energy that you transmuted or thrown at me, and I'm going to dump it right back on you, and it's going to be greater. You're going to be like, fuck, I hate her, right? Don't hate me. Love me, because I love you. I love you guys. But just know, it just teaches a person to be mindful. So it's a learning, it's a hard lesson that people learn in interacting with me in my lives. But it's a lesson nonetheless that they learn it through experience that they feel, and you can't forget it. He's not going to forget that the way he felt. So the moral of the story is just come with good energy, right? And it'll be multiplied back to you. And do I see that happening soon? Hell yeah, but I feel like it takes a bit of coaching and a bit of grooming for that to happen. Like, my flower is sacred. This space is sacred, right? Ain't no nympho over here. Nympho, yes, like you said, is a person feel like they can't function without sex, and in that space, you get sex from where you get it from, and you just fuck. Like, no, that we're talking about sacred energy. So for you to even for that thought to even come across your mind, you say you've watched me for how many years, but you let that thought come across your mind. That is really an insult. For you to even assume, for your mind to even go there to think, if you even speak that out your mouth, to associate me, my flower, with just being so free and open to the extent where it's indiscriminate. I don't have indiscriminate sex. No. So, very selective, and definitely got to weed people out. And this dynamic, like I said, because people want to come in with their own assumptions and what they want, right? That's what his ass want. That's his fan. That's not mine. That's his fantasy. Because men do have the tendency to feel that their penis is not sacred. That's why they just fuck any and everybody. For women, we can't do that. Our womb is sacred, right? We're talking about the gatekeepers of human life. This is sacred here. You can't just be out there fucking any and everybody indiscriminately, right? Notice that when the more men a woman has sex with, her value decreases. The more women a man has sex with, his value increases. So it goes to show you where the value lies, baby. The value lies in the punani, baby. Okay, let's be clear about that. Especially when you're talking to a goddess such as myself who knows that value, right? You gotta value your fucking mind to think that this is just going to be handed out to any fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry. It ain't going down like that. But when it does go down, just best believe that these people are vetted, and it's in a dynamic where spiritual ecstasy. Oh, yes. If it's funny, like when you have a dream, you want to go back and revisit the dream, right? But then you think like, yo, this is fucking a dream. It feels real, and it's something that actually can manifest itself to be real in reality. Like, this shit, it doesn't have to remain a dream. This can be very real. But yes, in the world that we live in, it's difficult because you got people like this person, men that may seem to be a potential to engage, but then they're not. First of all, they have toxic beliefs. So that shit ain't gonna work. For me, like I said, I'm a sapiosexual, so it's definitely about it starts here in the mental, right? You see how a person thinks and talks, and you're like, hell no, ain't no way. Ain't no motherfucking way. But if we vibrating, then possibly. But for me, you gotta go through the whole nother ring of loyalty. If you can't pass that loyalty test, and no, everything is a test, yo. Especially when the person don't know a person. If I know you and we down, we already established that, then you gotta worry about being put through the test, right? I don't know you all motherfuckers. Y'all some random ass people. So yeah, you're going to be tested when it comes to me, y'all. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. But I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. And I don't know. I thought about going to the art store today to get some more canvas, because I have more inspiration to do a painting based on my bathroom shower curtain. I do. And I have much space to do it here in my space here. I think I'm going to put that probably above my bed or in my bedroom, like higher up. Thank God I have like very tall walls, or high ceilings. I have a lot of space. But yeah, so I may end up going to Michael's today to get that, and yes, we'll see how things unfold at work. That spell, that voodoo that I did, can't speak on it. But anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Love you guys.